Have you ever felt?
Are you listening? Damn.
It's not a secret that the cryptocurrencies market for the recent years or even a decade was the most profitable market among the others, and there's no other asset which could provide the same ROI as Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies could. So looking at the history, we first would see that we had the option to invest in Bitcoin in the first place in the early years of crypto, and then Ethereum appeared to be the second asset which you can invest in and also provide a huge gain. So like Bitcoin, if you invest somewhere on here, you would have like 1,000 multiplier for your investment. Ethereum also gives a crazy amount of the profit, and then altcoins boomed, and then ICOs were the 2017, it was the year of the ICOs. So recently, and also of course the mining is another issue, but we were talking about investment. So recently in 2018, especially during the bear market, none of those tools, none of those assets work the same way. So we are looking at the kind of options, the possible future for the Bitcoin, for crypto, trying to answer the question which will be the most profitable solution, most profitable investment in crypto sphere. So, and actually nobody can tell it for sure, but there are different opinions, there are different options for that. So let's try to figure it out together. You're watching a Crypto Hamster channel. Let's go.
Let's go.
So while we will talking about what will be the next Ethereum or next Neo or the next ICO as a class, as the event in crypto, we will look at the price of Bitcoin. And what we actually see now is it dropped. You see, it was staying in those two areas depending on which exchange you look at, Tether or non-Tether trade exchange. So, and then the Tether trade exchange start to fall, and then finally both of them dropped quite a lot, like $100 and then even lower now. I don't see any particular reason in terms of the news, and anyway it's not the reason anyway. So don't look at that. It's just the excuse to fall anyway. The fact that we spent too much time, so long, without volatility, without the volume, without moving any particular way. So we need now to do some moves, and like the obvious thing in my opinion would be, as I was continuing talking about that for like couple of months, that we need to go down before we will go to the new local high, to the make higher high, like 8,000 or whatever. So we need to go below 6,000, probably like at 5,500 or even lower than that, at least for the very short period of time. And the more we were waiting, the more people were impatiently jumped into some of the altcoins, and which were seemingly pumping to like 100% or 50% or whatever, but eventually they were dumped, and a lot of people panic sold and so on. But anyway, prepare your fiat, prepare your popcorn, and buy altcoins and Bitcoin in very cheap price and discount level to have better multipliers. Eventually don't fall into FOMO, but don't also be scared of the low price. You know that everything is temporal, but again, don't forget that everything I say is my personal opinion and not a financial advice. So while we will look at the price of the Bitcoin, let's talk about what will be the next Ethereum or next Neo or next Bitcoin or next ICO. So in my opinion, currently we don't have already the effect of sort of like unusual class or new class or something which is very low capitalization, so it can like micro asset which can pump very hard because of the promising technology. What we shall do now, and so much of the like copies of the style of like huge projects already, successful projects. So what you can do now, and from which areas we could expect the biggest ROI, is the fields which, in my opinion, should be based on the capability to provide more like additional capital flow to the already existing classical, like conventional, traditional markets, if you would implement blockchain technology, and this implementation would lead to improvement, development, optimization of those established classes and markets. Because otherwise, like, you need to be either genius to find like an extensively outstanding solution, or you need to be very lucky to find the particular coins or whatever which will pump, and then you need to jump to another asset or something. So what are those fields which will, in my opinion, will be most successful during the next bull market? There are few, and of course, again, I cannot tell you the like exact recipe of how to get money, of where to, which project to buy or something. I just can give you my perception of those things and the way how I think with my logic, so you can judge whether it's reasonable or not, and also build your own examples and look at the market as a whole and some particular parts of that. So, sorry for a lot of rambling. Which are the fields? First, in my opinion, those will be the fields which already saturated in terms of the capitalization, but which could extend to additional markets or additional investor layers, investor groups, still having huge capitals aside. One of them is, for example, the real estate. And currently, for example, you know that the real estate market is overpriced. It's at a very high level and is going to fall unless something will not disrupt the field and not bring some additional fuel to the market, which will make it rise again. What could it be? It could be blockchain. So, for example, you have a house which costs like $500,000, and in order to buy it, you need to have either a loan or have a lot of money. But for the majority of people, it's not affordable. And on the other hand, if this asset class can grow, then in principle you would like to, although you cannot buy the house as a whole, you still can. You may want to invest in this asset partially, right? And the blockchain provides you a perfect solution for that. So you can invest in principle in a sort of like property, real estate property unit, of using tokens, which will be like a certain part, like one token will be a certain part of the house, or cost represents a certain part of the house. So you'll buy those tokens, and you would have those additional, you would have those investment with like not micro, but relatively small capital which you have, but still in the very attractive niche, attractive market. And since there are a lot of people who have small capital, but still they are able to invest this capital, but they cannot invest in huge overpriced market as real estate market. So this solution with the blockchain can push this further and can add additional value, can add bring additional capital to the field. This is first thing. Second thing, for example, is the gaming industry. And you know that currently we can play like World of Warcraft or World of Tanks, and we can buy some items, magical weapon, whatever. And those things are highly tradable in game, so you can buy it even for real money if they're really cool, if you want them, and so on. But with the blockchain implementation, it could be much more efficient and like usable and so on. So a lot of the gaming industry companies are thinking about that and considering to implement this. And if this will be done, hopefully when some regulations will be applied, then it will be really huge, because the market for the digital digital sports is huge, is tremendously big. So this is the second field, for like an example of the second field for the implementation of blockchain and huge gainers in future. Third, for instance, is the data. Right now we don't use our data. We go with our smartphone, or we use the search engines in internet, and we don't have any rewards for that, any revenue. But actually, if you will be using that, if you would say, okay, I will share this data with Google or whatever company, Facebook you think of, but they will pay me like small amount of their profit for this monetization of this data, I will be happy about that. Otherwise, I will just not share my data. And since currently all this data is free, and everyone is not a customer, everyone is using those services, is a sort of a tool, right? So then the flipping of this situation may lead to a huge money flow to this area, and like completely new players disrupting this field can come, and so on. This is the third option. What else can we think of? Of course, those are just supply chains. A lot of us, probably all of us, know the examples for supply chains, cryptocurrency coins. There are other cryptocurrency coins for those examples which I already drew. But supply chains is also very attractive, a way to improve the supply and demand, trading and businesses, etc. And actually, like it can bring additional capital to this field. It can optimize, it can develop, it can completely disrupt this area, which has a lot of flaws at the moment. So you see, this is like the major approach which I would think to apply when you look at the certain leaders for the future market. And the thing is, of course, you can just look at the currencies. The biggest field is finances, but you know, Bitcoin cannot grow as much as the altcoins do, because altcoins have a much less capitalization, so the ROI is very is much better unless you are trying to have a better liquidity, because of course you cannot have billions of dollars playing with some 200 ranked coin in coin market cap. But with Bitcoin you can have a decent volume, you can have decent liquidity to cover your profits, whatever it is, like 5% or 100%. Of course, cannot be really like 10,000% or something, but still with bigger capital you need bigger liquidity. But on the other hand, as a small investor, because I think most of the people who are watching this are small investors or mid investors, they are mid-cap investors. They need to find like the optimum between the ROI and the established and relatively high volume product on the market to invest in. So that's the major idea. So hopefully you can just find, like, you see you can pick the asset class. You don't need to pick the certain coin. You can pick just divide certain distinguish certain asset classes which you think are the most promising for the future in crypto, and then based on those asset classes you can fill them with the points, of course, with certain projects, and just pick among those projects the most promising ones, and then just invest in each class and 2-3 best performance, in your opinion, best performance examples of those classes, and that would be like your stake. I think it would be much wiser than just to choose like first 10 coins, for example, or only Ethereum, or just Bitcoin and some random coins in the first 100 coins, or whatever. So this is my standpoint on that. While we're talking, Bitcoin seems to be having a bit of the consolidation after touching 6,212 or whatever, and yeah, it seems like a lot of the altcoins are in the red, and shorts going up, longs going down. It seems like it's time to go up a little. Speaking about the performance of the huge players in the market, I must mention this guy, Nasdaq. You remember we were talking about that before. Just let me make a side note here. This behavior, up down, up down, up down, up down, up down, within this channel, it's sort of it is ridiculous actually, and it doesn't break this falling line over here, and it looks like it will go just below this lower low. And if it will do that, actually it went there a little bit, it seemed to be it's aiming there again. If it will fell below 20% from the all-time high, then it will be a sort of a textbook mark for the bear market started, and may ignite the panic sell all over the field, all over the space, and nasty thing may happen, guys. And S&P is probably like very close to 2,400, which I would say also is a pivotal point here. So if it will go below this, it's not that far actually already, like a couple of swings, and then it may, things may be very, very ugly from that point. But we are in the crypto area. Hopefully that in both scenarios long term we will win, we will profit from that. Actually 1 hour chart doesn't seem to be going lower, so probably will consolidate here for a while. I was going to mention a couple of altcoins before I will stop this video. Sorry for making it that long. Red Pulse, I will not actually, let's update it. Red Pulse was making this huge spike, and now it is actually retracing back to like half of the previous high, and now of course it dropped because of the Bitcoin, but seemed to be stable at the 50% retracement. So I would say maybe within volume is dropping, of course, so probably it will take like a week or 2 weeks or a little bit more to make a new wave if it will happen. But I personally don't think it will go lower than previous, maybe like this 16 cents or something. So probably we'll see a new wave, especially that maybe I just biased, I like the project. But I was going to mention some other coins which I think that you need to know about. This is one of the Neblio. And why I'm talking about that, it actually was not that bad. If we look at the like overall performance, you see it was bottoming, and everybody in the market, if they have a little bit of the brain, they would see that it is bottoming and it's going up, start to picking the volume, and it's time to step in to have the huge profits. So although what is really happening, and it's a bit suspicious, is that if you look at the volume profile, so this just remember that and compare it to this coin, Atlant. So it looks like this and this. It's very similar, even the shape. It looks like the bot trading algorithm to me from the old days with like shitty exchanges and shitcoins are trading them using pump and dump schemes. But now it is actually Binance. So, and if Binance is a target for such schemes, algorithms, it's not really good. And you see it's $24 million, so it's actually easy to move in principle by very small capital. So not so happy situation. But what I was going to mention is the coins which I'm looking at and which don't seem to be such a scammy coin. Nebula is not scammy coin, but I mean those which I wouldn't expect to act like that. They could, but I wouldn't just expect that. And just briefly say that this is the one chain, also Walton chain. So you see all of them the same pattern, bottoming and going a little bit higher with maybe a little higher volume if you will zoom it in. Zilliqa, PandyX, also the same. On PandyX, I must mention that there's a huge walls here for the selling, but it's maybe actually the spoofing when you have the fake walls, and when you try to sell on the same levels, they will just remove this wall, and then you would have to sell on this level. So it seems like there's no real sell orders, it's instead yours. So maybe it's just the fake walls for the sell. So when people will be sort of desperate, then this will happen. Like those walls will be removed and the price will go up, and you will not be able to buy on such low price. Okay. Also QuantStamp, another coin which I'm looking at, the same patterns. And also recently I was looking at the Unibright coin. I think it's sort of I would say low cap, high risk, and but you see, I like the volume. I like how it didn't fall in after this, and it seemed just like a little bit gambling to me, but still I'm interested. And you see, it's 561, $4 million capitalization. It's something like appealing. I don't know. So anyway, this is it for today. I hope that it was not that long, and I hope you learned something interesting. If you do, please leave a like, subscribe, and leave your comment. Please write which of the future, which kind of future for the crypto you see, which would be the new Ethereum, new Neo, new ICO as a class. In your comments, please do that. And also, I hope to see you in the next video already tomorrow, a new update. I will make it short, I promise, just 2-3 minutes, because yeah, it's impossible to do such long updates every day unless you're full-time in crypto, and I'm not. So far, safe trading, enjoy this sell out, discount prices, and hope to see you tomorrow. Goodbye, guys.